Welcome back, folks. My name's Shane. In today's video, we're checking out the Panasonic Leica 12-35mm f2.8 zoom lens. That's right, a zoom lens for micro four thirds. It's a micro four thirds lens that gives you a lot of versatility. Now, I purchased this lens. This video is not sponsored or anything like that. I also purchased this older 12-35mm f2.8 version 2 a couple of years ago for a trip to Hawaii, and it was such a fun lens to use. One of the recent comments I saw on the channel was someone asking about why aren't there any tests with the new camera bodies with these two lenses. So that's what this video will be. So you'll see some test samples with the GH7 and the Leica lens, and you'll see some test samples with the G9 Mark II and the 12-35 version 2. The Panasonic Leica lens is sometimes also referred to as version 3. So that's version 3, and version 1 I've never tested, so I can't comment on that, but I think it's pretty similar to the overall performance of the version 2, just with a little less stabilization. At least that's what I've seen online. So this is the first of some new style of videos where I just take the stuff out, we test it out, and we see what kind of results we get. This is sort of like a little lower production quality than normal, but doing the big studio review videos kind of unsustainable and not as fun as just getting out here and shooting. So we're going to test some stuff out moving forward in this kind of scenario, and then later down the track, once I have some experience with the gear, I'm going to start doing sort of more in-depth reviews once I've used it enough to know. But I'm a huge fan of this 12-35mm f2.8 version 2. I've used it so much over the last few years that I thought this 12-35mm Leica was a no-brainer. On my last video, I spoke about why I ended up getting the 12-35mm Leica, but I just wanted to cover that again in case you're new to the channel. So I love this version 2 lens. It's one of my favorite zooms of all time. It's not perfect, but it's close to perfect. My only critique with it is that the focus ring is a little bit too sticky once you apply a little bit of pressure to it. But otherwise, I'm a huge fan of this lens, and I've really come to reappreciate this on a recent trip I had away. So if you don't know the channel, I shoot both full frame and micro four thirds. And back in the day, I was always trying to make micro four thirds look as close to full frame as I could. Now I've gone the other direction. I don't really care about that. Having extra depth of field isn't the end of the world. And if you're shooting outside on a bright sunny day or doing anything for travel, you want a little bit more in focus. And this is where I think micro four thirds really shines. And this 12-35mm and the 9mm f1.7 were the two lenses I used and enjoyed the most on my trip. I've got the 10-25mm f1.7. I took the Sigma 16mm f1.4, the 25mm f1.7 prime, and this ended up being the lens I chose to use anytime I just wanted to have some fun with either the G9 Mark II or the GH7. When I got home from the trip, I ended up selling all of my large lenses. I got rid of some Sony stuff, and I purchased this 12-35mm f2.8 Leica. So I thought, why not? Let's give it a shot. We'll do some more casual videos on the channel. Again, this won't be a huge sort of like deep dive review video on this lens with these camera bodies or anything like that, but you'll see some samples with the 12-35 on the G9 Mark II and this other 12-35 Leica on the GH7. So I hope you enjoy this video, and if you want to see a deep dive review, let us know. But again, I wanted to do some more practical test videos because they're fun. Let's get into it. All right, let's check out the autofocus performance. I'm using the GH7 with human tracking and no custom settings, f2.8, 50 frames per second, because that's one of the benefits of micro four thirds. You can shoot uncropped with this micro four thirds sensor and get really great faster frame rates that look super fluid. So I am using a polarizing filter on this right now, but this is at f2.8, 12mm, giving us that 24mm field of view. Let's punch it in. All right, now we're over to 25mm, which is that classic sort of nifty 50 focal length. Let's see how well it does here at 25mm, f2.8, which is another benefit of this lens. You get that constant f2.8 aperture. Let's do a quick test here and see how it performs. All right. Now you can change the speed and sensitivity settings if you so choose, if you want to make it slower, if you want to make it faster, all that kind of stuff. But this is all just stock straight out of the camera. And now we're over to 35mm at f2.8, which is the benefit of this lens. You get all the way from 12-35mm, so a 24-70 equivalent. And at 35mm like this, you can create a really premium look. I think this will most likely look great, but the autofocus should still be performing really nicely. So let us know what you think at 35mm, f2.8. Is this enough background blur? Yes. All right, let's do a different type of autofocus test. So what I'm going to do now is just set up a one area mode. So a little box mode here, and we're going to have it set to the football sign. So I'll just hit record. And now all I'm going to do now is just tap on screen to the background tap on screen to the foreground, tap on screen to the background, and tap on screen to the foreground. So as you can no doubt tell, the autofocus performance is going to be great. If you like to tap to focus, it's not a problem. These lenses also give us optical image stabilization, or power OIS, and it works beautifully. So what I'm going to do is start with it off, and I'm just going to try and keep the horizon here level. Now this is without the boost mode. So this is just standard handheld mode. I'll punch all the way into 35mm and bring that back down. And you can see what kind of image stabilization we can get without running any of the digital or IS boost modes. Now let's turn boost on. This is with boost on. It is crazy stable, man. That is awesome at 35mm. Let's pull it back to 12. It looks like it's locked off on a tripod, and all the way back in at 35. So this is crazy. It makes a huge difference to the end result, having great image stabilization. All right, let's do a quick vlogging test now at 12mm on the GH7. So this is the kind of in-body image stabilization you can get without even turning on the E-stabilization. Again, another huge benefit to this lens. In combination with the smaller sensor, I'm going to get really great in-body image stabilization. But it gets even better. And now I have the E-stabilization set to standard. And check this out. This is the kind of result you can get. Now, I don't have my regular vlogging tripod. I'm kind of using a makeshift tripod here, but you can get the idea. It's still going to look really good. And the ground here is crazy. It's all over the place, and you can still get excellent in-body image stabilization, but it gets even better. And now with the E-stabilization set to high, this should almost look like it's on a tripod. And the great news is, you can basically run with this. I'm going to be bobbing up and down in the frame because I'm moving and the background isn't, but that's how it looks. So yeah, you can get really crazy levels of in-body image stabilization without having to run anything through any sort of software after the fact, and this saves me a whole bunch of time. Another reason I love this lens is, of course, the minimum focusing distance, and I showcased that on the loaner I had from Panasonic back in the day. But I want to show you how close you can get at f4 here. I'm stopping down to f4 just because it's really bright. And let's try this. So I've got the lens hood resting on the pole and the S is in focus. So yeah, this is again an improvement over the 12-35mm version 2. But yeah, both are very good when it comes to getting up close, but this just really knocks it out of the park. It's awesome. Let me give you a quick rundown of this 12-35mm Leica. So one of the cool things about this lens is it gives you a really usable focal range. 12 on the wide end is the equivalent of 24mm on full frame, all the way into 35mm, which is a 70mm equivalent. So this is the 24-70 for micro 4/3, and it's a constant f2.8 aperture, which is another reason why I love it as a video shooter. We get optical image stabilization over here as well. This is called power OIS. It's either on or off, and this is completely separate to the in-body image stabilization of the camera. So you just leave it on and you're going to get excellent handheld results. The zoom ring feels fantastic in the hand. It feels every bit the same or as good as the version 2, so no changes there. But what has changed compared to the version I've got of the 12-35 version 2 is this focus ring feels a lot better. It feels like they've made some adjustments to it after the sample I got to test a year or so ago. So this doesn't sort of lock up when you use a little bit of pressure on it like my one does. So yeah, this gets the win in terms of the focus ring. It works with the linear focusing option within the camera system, so you can pull focus repeatably and reliably if you plan on shooting with manual focus. The front filter thread is 58mm, the same as version 2. So if you've already got version 2 or another 58mm polarizing or ND filter, it will fit on here. Maybe my only complaint with the design of the 12-35mm Leica and version 2 is this. This is the lens hood. So as you can see, it's kind of set up with some high sections and some low sections, which means you can't kind of just lay it flat like this. It will topple over if you just like to lay your lenses flat. You kind of have to reverse the lens hood like this. Then you can't access the focus ring. So it is what it is. It's only a minor complaint. I've heard a lot of other people complain about this over the years, but I've definitely noticed it with my 12-35. The amount of times I go just to plonk it down on the desk and then it topples over. Yeah, not good. It's just one of those things. I should replace it at some point, but yeah, it is what it is. Let's talk about my lens collection and how I see micro 4/3 working for me. So I think the 12-35s right now will be the lenses I keep glued onto either camera. If I'm using the G9 Mark II, I'll probably opt just for the Leica lens because it is what it is. It's the more premium lens. I'll take it with me. But if I'm in a situation where I don't want to take the expensive stuff, I've got the 12-35 version 2, so I don't have to worry about it quite as much, and that's always a good thing. Now my 10-25mm f1.7 is staying around. It will most likely just be relegated to the studio if I do need it. If I don't use it in the next 6 months, or if I don't review it, I may move it on at some point, but stay tuned. I will actually put a video together about that coming up because I've never done that. I've got a couple of 25mm f1.7 primes. I've also got that 42.5mm Panasonic LUMIX lens, and I'll probably move that on. I think what I'm going to do is sell probably one 25mm, the 42.5, and get a macro lens for micro four thirds, and that'll be it. That'll be it. I think I'm just going to keep it as simple as I can, and simple is good. The less stuff you have sort of filling up your boxes or storage at home, the better. Coming up tomorrow, I'm going to be covering a guitar show here in Melbourne, Australia, using the GH7 and this 12-35mm F2.8 lens. This will be my only camera system for the day. I might take a handful of extra batteries with me, but that's about it. So yeah, I'm going to see how this performs indoors in a real world scenario, sort of run and gun filmmaking style stuff. Now, it's not going to be anything too serious, but what I will do is share with you my experience using this camera and this lens for something other than just standing around in a park. So if you enjoyed the video, leave a thumbs up, comment below, all that kind of stuff. It really helps the channel get found. And I will catch you on the next one. See ya.